You're listening to Awards Magnet, a Gold Derby podcast. Subscribe for new episodes on Mondays and special monthly mailbag episodes. Email us at slugfests@goldderby.com. Now, on to the show. Welcome back to Awards Magnet. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce. And Joyce, we're back with a mailbag episode.
Is there a game in this one?
There's no game.
Oh, it's been so long.
I know, no Game Master Mike. We do have like a game adjacent thing.
He was scared off. So.
We do have a game adjacent thing that we might have time for. It's not from Game Master Mike. But we're doing mailbag, Joyce. Email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. We're going to do these about like once a month, we said, every few weeks. Let the emails build up.
Did they build up this time?
They did. We have a lot of emails. We have a lot of emails about your favorite show, The Pit. So I'm going to start there, Joyce.
Okay.
We have many emails here. It's all different things. This one's from Chris, who's a longtime emailer. Emailed us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Hi, Joyce and Chris. So I just caught up with The Pit, and I think I'm moving it to number 1 in Best Drama.
Wow.
The show keeps getting better with each episode, and its audience scores on IMDb reflect that. The back half of the season consistently having higher scores than most of Severance Season 2. Of course, with less people rating The Pit, but still. The show is also having a great cross-generational word of mouth. My mom and my roommate both have recommended the show to multiple friends. The buzz sort of reminds me of Homeland and The Bear when they won. More than anything else, the 3 frontrunners, The White Lotus, The Last of Us, and Severance, just feel weak. The reception to White Lotus has been mild, and Episode 7 underwhelmed, and I don't see Episode 8 saving the season, and The Last of Us and Severance feel too genre-y and might eat into a similar voter base. So yeah, I'm going all in on The Pit. I'm moving Noah Wyle into first 2 in a very competitive category. Can you see The Pit happening in drama and or actor?
You mean in terms of nominations or wins?
In terms of wins, and I guess I'll read you one more. This is Pit related. We have multiple Pit ones, but I'm going to read this one too. This one was from Patrick. Hi guys, I love the organic word of mouth way The Pit has achieved success during its first season. It's not really something you see anymore during the streaming era. Obviously, people discovered Baby Reindeer last year and Adolescence this year, but The Pit is weekly and on Max, and it still grew over time because it's just that good. How do you feel about its Emmy chances now? And Joyce, how do you feel knowing that people are basically going to be stepping on your ER beat in the wake of this success? That's Patrick.
It's very annoying. You know, like, I think like a lot of people feel this way, like when they love something first, you know, and then it gets like too popular for them. Like, I'm very happy with the success of The Pit because they deserve it and it's a great show. And yeah, all that stuff, it's true. Like, it started in January, like under the radar, low key, and the word of mouth has been organic. And like literally no one was like pegging this as like an Emmy contender, even when it was announced, right? Even when the trailers dropped in December. But I watched like the first 10 episodes of the screeners in December. I was like, this is great. And I was like, and I think like it has like that old school feel, and obviously like you know, Noah Wyle back in an ER again. I was like, I think it could find an audience, and it has, and the fact that it has more episodes than shows usually do now in this era of like 8 to 10, like it has the runway to build the audience and the word of mouth. Like I was talking about this with someone a couple of weeks ago. Like The Pit or Paradise premiered a couple weeks after The Pit, and when it was airing, it was louder, you know, because of like the twist and everything, and also the people involved who have been more recently Emmy adjacent, right? But that was only 8 episodes. They did 3 episodes the first week, and then it was over in 6 weeks, and The Pit is still going on. You know, and no one right now is really talking about Paradise.
It's true.
Know? And then like the buzz for The Pit has really escalated the last couple of weeks with these final 4 episodes with the mass casualty arc, and then obviously last week with, or I guess now as this airs like almost 2 weeks ago with Noah Wyle's performance in the 13th episode. And that's they have the finales this week, which is also great. I've had Noah and the show in when we discussed this like a month ago.
Yeah.
So I think they can get in. I really want some of the supporting cast to get in, but it's so crowded in the supporting categories with, you know, potential White Lotus spam and then Severance potentially expanding.
I still have, I mean, I have it in series and actor. I don't have it anywhere else above, like right now.
Yeah, it also deserves like, you know, other like directing and stuff. Like I think Noah can win too. which I think a lot of people don't want to hear. Like the Severance stands don't want to hear that, or the Pedro Pascal stands don't want to hear that.
I have Noah right now in second. I'm banking on The Last of Us, which I've only seen one episode of. I know actually some people have seen the whole thing. I have not. But I've seen one episode, and I'm like, knowing what happens in the game and knowing Pedro Pascal, and I feel like he was actually close to winning for the first season, frankly.
You had him winning until like the day of, and then you switched back to Kieran.
I do think he's probably still out in front. I have Adam Scott, I think, in third, maybe or fourth. I don't think that feels like a win. The win there, I think he's not as much of a win potential as the other two of Noah Wyle and Pedro Pascal, sight unseen, based on season 2 of Last of Us. But I mean, I know the Severance fans really love Adam Scott. Yeah,
and Pedro also won SAG over Kieran for season 1.
That's what I was saying. I'm like, I think he could, depending on what happens, I think he could be like he's really good. In the first episode, he's great. One of the things he said that was really interesting about two things. So the ER was a big Emmy show. Joyce, you know this. You were a huge fan of ER.
I mean, it's only won drama series once in 1996, but yes, but acting wise, only Juliana Margulies won among the series regulars. So,
but nominations, right? And like a lot of accolades.
Yes, Noah was nominated 5 straight years, and he has not been nominated this century.
And so, ER was like a big show, and then I think now, in recent times, something like Grey's Anatomy, not as much of like a Emmys fave, right? Certainly, or it was a little bit, and then like kind of like some nominations, and then now it's been running so long, it's not.
Yes, I mean it had a shorter Emmy run than ER did. Like it was only nominated for drama series twice and never won, and it hasn't been nominated since 2012. So whereas ER actually won the directing Emmy for its series finale in 2009, because Rod Holcomb, who did the pilot, came back and directed the series finale.
And so what I was thinking was like the perception of what is an Emmy show now is like not a medical drama,
and like not a procedural like ER. Yeah,
correct. But I'm like, it used to be, and I wonder. Like I was like, you mentioned too, like how the Pit is like a real TV show, right? It's I mean, not as many episodes as ER would have in its heyday, or even Grey's Anatomy, but like 15 episodes, right? Or 16? What is it? 15 episodes is a lot of episodes. Like Your Friends and Neighbors, which I really liked, is I think 8 episodes. You know what I mean? That's like half the episodes, and it's like these are like, so it's like a real TV show.
And that's how you build an audience.
So you're building the audience, but it's a real TV show. And I was like, I wonder will we get to a point where it's like, oh, we could actually like, is real TV or old school? Is that going to feel like is that going to feel new? Old novelty TV? Will that feel new? And then will that make it elevate up? I'm not ready to put the Pit in first, like Chris was in his email. I don't necessarily
Chris
buy
is just
that.
manifesting it. So
I love the manifestation. I don't buy that, but I do think that like we're getting to a point where the Pit is like maybe the first significant through the door, and more shows are going to be like, what if we just did a regular TV show? You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah. It just kind of feels like in the streaming era, they just kind of dismantle TV, right? Like TV has always worked.
Sure.
Right. And now there's too much TV and everything gets lost. And then too many short episode orders and too much of a time gap between seasons. Like the Pit season 2 is going to come back in 8 months.
So this is the other thing I was going to ask you, because we just see that with Hacks, which is coming back soon. They're back in less than a year, and it feels like a real TV show, and you're able to build momentum. Now it's still only 10 episodes, the 4th season, but the repetition is there. Your Friends and Neighbors, again, to bring that up, which I really like, the first season, the second season goes into production, I think on April 14th, like days after the first season premieres. And so they're going to be back on the air, presumably, or back on Apple, like next year at this time, maybe a little later, but like, it's like we're getting into the repetition, whereas Severance was obviously like, see in 3 years. And like Last of Us is like 2-year gap, right? Like, I don't know. I'm like, what if these are like, so I'm hoping that like we get back to TV being TV. Maybe that's crazy, but it would be nice.
Yeah. I mean, even with Severance, like Ben Stiller and Dan Arias have been asked, like, will it be another 3-year gap between seasons? And like, hopefully no is their answer, but they did not promise like within a year or anything. Like
they're not even in production yet.
Yeah,
right?
and like so they've always said like that's a show that takes a long time to film. So it's like, okay, I guess see you in 2 years instead of 3. And I mean, like Game of Thrones, like that's a huge production. for 6 seasons, they aired annually. They had a new season. I mean, for 7, actually, they just moved from the spring to the summer.
Yep.
And then it was 2 years between 7 and 8. So it's doable. You know, like you talk about like a show like your Friends and Neighbors, you know, not a lot of post like Game of Thrones has, right? Like, so like a lot of these shows that don't require post, they can have to turn around quickly, you know, but like Game of Thrones shows that you can do. And now House of the Dragon, it's like every 2 years. It's the same show. It's every 2 years.
So I'm like, oh, maybe that's like, so that's a great thing for the Pit. And I guess we'll see how it does. Like, what's it like? I mean, we don't like, there's probably a million different places it could get nominated. But for you, like, what is it's like, what are you hoping? Like, drama series and drama actor seem like have to happen. And they probably will based on the competition. But do you think it's like, will it get like a writing nomination or directing nomination? Like, do you think it could get in these other categories?
I hope it can get writing and directing. I mean, especially the directing, because like the way, for all the talk about like the oners and adolescence and the studio, like the way that the Pit is shot is also great because of their essentially closed set. Like it's like an actual like, you know, emergency department layout, and the way the camera moves and the way the show is blocked is really great. Because obviously it's also real time. So like the way it cuts is not the way like a quote normal show was cut when you're going from like scene to scene, you know? And again, like the supporting players too, like they have a lot more supporting actress contenders. So that'll be tougher there. I think a little bit easier with supporting actor like Patrick Ball. Hopefully, maybe. And then also because they have 15 episodes, like Sean Hattasey, who's great. He's like badass, a doctor. There's in the finale, there's a reveal with him. But he's eligible in guest, but if the Pit were only like 8 episodes, then he'd have to go supporting.
Right. That's funny. The one shot thing, Joyce, we actually have an email from our good friend Judgmental TV Fan.
Oh, they're back. Yes.
Never miss a chance to email us. Email us at slugfest@goldderby.com, even if you're not a Judgmental TV fan, but we do love the OG Judgmental TV Fan. Hi, Joyce and Chris. We've reached my least favorite time of year, when film Twitter pretends they care about TV for content purposes and then acts surprised about how good TV shows are, like the rest of us aren't out here every day of the year. It's kind of embarrassing, especially when we actually get close to Emmy voting and they clearly don't understand how it works. Adolescence and the Pit are probably the years it shows for film Twitter, but honestly, I have to say that the one-shot thing is so dumb. I think it's more distracting than anything. What's your take on it, Judgmental TV Fan?
I'm not someone who's obsessed with oners. I think sometimes in certain situations, they work better than in others.
Can I tell you a secret about the studio, which is not mentioned here, but clearly is part of this conversation? Because when I watched all the screeners, I knew obviously the Oner episode was a Oner, and I was like, oh, look at that. And it's like, oh, look at that. That's pretty clever. I did not realize for so long that the individual episodes are all Oners, basically. You know what I mean? Like there's so many long shots on that show. It just I never even noticed it really, which I guess maybe is good or bad. But I was just like, it never even dawned on me that we're not actually cutting that much because they're not sustained oners, but they are like 5-minute scenes usually, right, on that show. I think it depends too. It definitely seems like it's being overused this year, I feel like. I also think that like everything else, it's not as good as it used to. Like when I was a youth, Joyce, I was like, oh, I love the oners and like The Player and Goodfellas and like Touch of Evil and all of these foundational oner shots that are clearly inspiring many of these things that we're seeing now, right? It's like the studio specifically is like very much like the opening of The Player. But I'm like, they just did those, as far as I know, they just did those oners, right? Like they were just like, we're just going to do these things in one shot. Yeah. And if there's a mistake, we'll make it work. And now it's like, we're stitching things together. There are more, these are not necessarily complete oners, right? There is stitching involved. They're like long scenes, like the studio, like Seth Rogen talked about this, that the oner episode is actually like 4 different sections that they have like stitched together. And that's really commendable because that means you're doing like, 8 to 10 minute sequence. Like every shot is like an 8 to 10 minute like thing that they have to then reset and make sure it all works. But it's not like a 25-minute oner. You know what I mean? Like in one day. It's not like they did that, which I guess is like fine. But I just was like, oh, I kind of like the ridiculousness of trying to do this in one shot without any digital stitching. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like 1917,
A lot of stitching.
Yeah.
And they reference that in the studio. They reference that in the studio.
In the studio, it was like a similar experience with me. Like, I think I noticed like the scenes were very long, but I don't think I was like, oh, these are all oners. It was just kind of like continuous, Yeah. But like with adolescence, I'll admit, like, I wasn't really into the oners there. Like, it's like for certain scenes, it was kind of distracting to me, especially in the 4th episode. I think it worked best in the 3rd episode because that was just like a two-hander.
The 3rd episode, I think, works really well, but I'm not sure about the rest.
Yeah.
And it's cool. I mean, like, it's a great filmmaking technique, and obviously, like, I'm assuming this is all like sprung up from The Bear, which felt like they did theirs without any stitching. I feel like that was like an actual wonder for the first season episode when they're in the kitchen and everything's going crazy.
And that's 21 minutes.
Right. Maybe there was some stitching in that one, but that was like the first time in, I guess, recent time that I saw a oner episode get so much buzz, and now we're seeing like the outpouring of that here with multiple shows doing it.
Yeah, it's usually just like a sequence in an episode. Like in True Detective season 1.
Right. That was another one. Good one. Good note, Joyce. I like that one. That was a good one.
Emmy-winning episode, so.
It's great. It was great. Anything about film Twitter, Joyce, before we move on to Max? I got an email from Max. That's going to get film Twitter mad, I think. Maybe too.
I love Max. Max and Judgmental TV fans should be friends.
That's why I put them back to back. This one's Max. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I'm back and ready to offer some mean takes on this year's Emmys contenders. I got to start by echoing Judgmental TV and scathing thoughts on Severance.
Oh my God, that was like a month ago, wasn't it?
Yes. In case anyone's forgotten, they basically called season 2 a convoluted, poorly plotted at best mess. I just couldn't agree more. I'd like to add that I find most of the performances average at best. Trammell Tillman and Merritt Weaver innocent. And I think it's ludicrous that people are putting Adam Scott's performance in the same echelon as Bryan Cranston's work on Breaking Bad. I love the guy, but give me a break. My firm belief is that this show is made by people who think they are smart and making the smartest, greatest show of all time for people who need to feel smart watching TV. If you're a fan of this and this offends you, please develop what your precious show doesn't have, a sense of humor. Ouch.
Oh my God.
This is scathing. I don't agree with all of this. I'm just going to say it right now. For the sake of including a question, the common belief right now is that the top 3 drama contenders, Severance, The White Lotus, and The Last of Us, will dominate the sporting categories. But in the event that doesn't happen, because voters aren't high on these shows, what shows do you think would benefit the most?
Wow. I remember ages ago when we were like, Max is shady, but like, let the bitch out, and the bitch is out.
I mean, I don't agree. I'll say this. Severance is not my favorite show. I could see the critiques on it. I think the performances are really good. I love Britt Lower on it. I thought she's like really, really good. I don't know. Adam Scott is good. I like Adam Scott. I've liked him more in like other things, but I think he's good. Trammell Tillman obviously is like tremendous. I think he's the best part.
Yeah. Trammell's
but I really like Britt.
Trammell's probably my favorite performance of season 2.
He's great. I do like Britt a lot, and yeah, I think it's fine. I do think there is something to. I don't know if it's. I love Ben Stiller. I think he's like a really good filmmaker. So I'm on the Ben Stiller train. But I do think a lot of the fans of the show want to feel incredibly smart watching it. Which is sometimes that happens, right? You want to with TV shows.
Yeah, and then the show has also become like the new Lost in a way, like a mystery box show that they never intended to be one. And Ben has even talked about it this season when he's been asked about like fans trying to solve the show. And that's not their intention or the goal with the show, but he's happy that fans are engaged with the show.
I will say this. I was thinking of Severance in terms of Yellow Jackets season 3, which not the greatest buzz choice. You hear a lot of people talk about Yellow Jackets.
Well, I mean, like the stand-up is always there. So, I mean, they were talking in terms of words, it was already trending down with season 2.
I feel like with Yellow Jackets, that was a mystery box show that really took the creators by such surprise that it kind of like unmoored them a little bit. I don't know any of this being true, but it just remember like even in their postmortem interviews from season 1, it was like, I remember reading and them being like, oh yeah, we were so surprised. Like people were all over Reddit on like, it literally like, were taken by surprise at how obsessed people became with the show so quickly because of its mystery box element. And I feel like Severance was a little bit like that too, but they maybe did a better job of like managing those expectations with where they've taken the show in season 2. I don't know though if that's 100% accurate, but like that's how it feels to me. So I was like, I think that part of it, like is right, and that's why I'm like, oh, I think it's got a better hope for future seasons than maybe Yellow Jackets does in terms of success.
Yeah, it's also interesting because both of those shows, like the creators say, like they have an endpoint, right? Like Dan says, like he always knows where the show will end, whether it's 2 seasons or 5.
Sure.
And then Yellow Jackets, like their plan is 5 seasons,
right?
So, I don't like Yellow Jackets. It's kind of like I feel like if you talk to a lot of the fans or like some of the people I've talked to this season, like most people prefer the teen storyline to the adults.
It seems like that's been trending that way, right?
Yeah, and it's always so. It's like what maybe like the show should have just been the teens. I don't know, but Severance with the Adam Scott thing, it's funny because its season finale was the week before Noah Wiley's big episode. So I was like, the week of the Severance finale, I saw all the reactions to Adam Scott. It was like the Emmy is his, right? Like greatest performance of all time. Like Max said, a lot of comps to Bryan Cranston and like James Gandolfini. Sure. Like he is really good on the show. But then like me, like having seen the 13th episode of The Pit, I was like, wait 7 days, guys. Wait, that's 7 days. Yeah, like a week later, everyone's like, Emmy to Noah Wiley,
Yeah, I never got the Bryan Cranston. I never would think of him.
Me either.
That's
and
not,
it's like no shade to Adam Scott at all.
I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, first of all, like those are like the two of the greatest TV performances like of all time, right? Like, so it's like, sorry, you're not, and the 2 greatest performances ever. But at the same time, like I do see people saying that. It just I don't see that, but personally, but I think he's really good on it. Yeah. It's really, really good. But I think it's a lot it's not James Gandolfini. Come on.
It's like the recency bias. It's like you're on the high of seeing the episode. And yeah, he's really good in the finale. I do it. But if you take a step back a little bit too, like if you think about it, when people talk about Severance, especially early on in the season, like before the finale, a lot of the raves are about the show in general, the technical aspects, the writing, and like the performances by John Turturro, right? And like even Britt in the 4th episode.
Mm-hmm.
And Tramel, so, and I felt like there was not a lot of chatter about Adam's performance until the finale.
Right.
Like he's getting in, like this is not
obviously he's getting in. No, I mean, it shows I mean, like it is interesting to think like there's huge shows here at the top of this drama series ladder. We'll talk about drama series shortly, Joyce, in our next episode, but just in general, like, I don't know. I'm like any of these shows could conceivably win. You know what I mean? Like there's none of them I feel like have thus far pushed ahead of the other one, right? You know what I mean? Like we're like some like White Lotus, like Chris was saying I think earlier, like just like people have been more mixed on this season than previously, and like Severance, obviously like Max would not vote for it, but obviously there are also a lot of fans. And then like Last of Us, we'll see. Like it's pending, but like kind of having an awareness of where the season will go. You think it'll be there? I'm like, and then The Pit, like we were talking about too. And I don't know. I'm like, that's like pretty exciting. Like, I don't know what you would say is the actual true front runner at this time.
No. And then if you're going with the top 3, like we have historical data of their performances last time at the Emmys, right? So that if you go by that, The White Lotus and The Last of Us have performed the best, right? Like they both cleared more than 20 nominations. Like The Last of Us did with 1 season. White Lotus has had 2, and Last of Us won 8 Emmys its first season, including 2 for acting, like swept guest. And Severance for its first season got 14, a great number,
huge number,
but not 24 nominations like The Last of Us, or 23 like The White Lotus, and it won 2. And obviously Severance can expand this year, and I think a lot of people are expecting that, and especially its stands are expecting that. So
the issues I think that could be there are I think The White Lotus and Last of Us are not going to step back in terms of nominations.
I mean, like all 3 could get over 20 nominations.
I think they will. So. We're recording this before The White Lotus finale, Joyce. So future Chris might be like, what an idiot past Chris was because The White Lotus finale was bad or it disappointed or whatever. Here's what I'll say. The moment I have White Lotus in first in drama because I just think that like sort of what I think Chris was saying, or maybe one of the other emailers, that the fact that it's not a genre show, not that there's a genre bias necessarily on Last of Us and Severance, because I do think they kind of like transcend the genre. You know what I mean? Like it's not like Last of Us is not like Walking Dead. No disrespect to people like Walking Dead, but it is a little more highbrow in its like ideals, I think. I just am like, oh, The White Lotus is like has the edge by not being a genre show, and also is like the oldest one of these. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, this is the oldest one of these shows, and like there's a familiarity there, and I think that it could win finally at the series here in drama series. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a huge White Lotus person in general, but it feels like the consensus this season is like it's not as good as the other two. And you know, a lot of complaints about like the lack of like plot movement. This season also has the most episodes. At only 8 is the most episodes.
From like real people I know who I've talked to about the show, the consensus, and I would agree with this, the beginning of the season was not ideal. It was slower. I felt like it was slower, but once you hit the Sam Rockwell episode, I think the show's been absolutely fantastic for these last like 2-3 episodes.
Yeah, but a lot of people, like, I think it was Chris, right? Like the 7th episode, underwhelming for a lot of people.
I didn't think the 7th episode was underwhelming. I disagree with that. I thought that was like a great episode too. I think it's been like a total banger. And then I've been going back and like watching earlier episodes, just having it on. And those earlier episodes are now great, which I think is a testament to the storytelling, because in the beginning, you're not sure who these characters are and you don't have any kind of allegiances to them. And then now I'm like, oh, I like really like these characters. So when you go back and watch it again, which I don't think Emmy voters are doing when they have 500 shows to do, it really does like pop in a great way. So I don't think the season is as good as season 2 or 1, but I still think it's like great, you know, that kind of thing. So I guess it could win. Maybe it's the Pit though, Joyce. What if it's the Pit who wins drama series? Wouldn't that be fun?
That'd be great. I support that, especially because I feel like, you know, like I said before, when it was airing for the first month or so, like no one was talking about it. No one was giving it, you know, any like relevance in that Emmy race. It was just like this like medical procedural on Max. And now like it's actually popped.
I mean, we've talked about those 4 shows the most right now. Anything we haven't mentioned that is, would you say could sneak in? And like, let's say these top 3 are not there. Like, what is your next bet? Slow Horses?
Well, Slow Horses would get in. It's the only one that could come back.
Right. No, I know it could get in. I'm not saying like getting in. Like, if it's like, if the top 3 or 4 is like not, if they're not going to win, like what would be a dark horse to even win? Like, is Slow Horses going to win?
I think it's like the top 3. And I think we're, you know, kind of hope dicting the Pit here is 4th, you know, but I think a lot of people are still wary about it getting into series 2. But I mean, let's say it gets in. So like, that, I mean, that could be your top 5, right? I mean, I have The Diplomat. I'm sure you do too. You still have that.
I think I have the same ones as you know. I went to Squid Game. I dropped Paradise. So I have the top.
Wow, you dropped Paradise.
Yeah. You know why? There's just no buzz. I thought it was, I think it's tough. Like the role, that's it. Like you were mentioning earlier, I think that's a show that 100% would have benefited from a traditional TV rollout, because they did the 3 episodes at once. And then, like you said, it was over in 6 weeks. I think having 1 episode a week would have been more advantageous to it, but I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm not a TV programmer, so what do I know?
You know, they could bring it back for the campaign, but I don't know. That's another show where like production on season 2 has already started, so it'll be back.
It'll definitely be back. I'm super psyched. And it's like a real TV. It's like a quote real TV show to me. Like I love it. I can't wait for it to come back. I think that it will do well in the Emmys, but I just like. Your argument for Squid Game was basically like more people have seen it, and I still think that's true. And I think that,
I mean, remember last year when 3 Body Problem got in just based off of like text, really?
Right? And I think the tech on Squid Game will be there, and Paradise will be hopefully get like, I mean, Sterling K. Brown I think is like hopefully secure. He's great. I think you could get like hopefully like honestly like I would love to see you get a writing nomination. I think the writing is like really fun, and maybe like some other stuff, and then next season for season 2, kind of like pushes into the series category. You know what I mean? Like knocking on the door for season 1, people start liking it more, and then season 2 it comes in full force. Or what if it, I mean, right now it's the top 8 of the odds are Severance, Last of Us, White Lotus, Slow Horses, The Pit, Diplomat, Squid Game, and Andor.
I have Andor.
I have Andor too. I'm assuming that'll just, I feel like the size of these shows will keep them in. But I guess if Andor season 2 is like underwhelming, maybe Paradise you get in. I can't see like any of these other shows sneaking in, but
Yellow Jackets.
No, and Your Friends and Neighbors, like I think it'll get Ham in. I do think Ham will get in, and I think he can get writing, honestly, too. It's really, really well written, and Jonathan Tropper is like Sorkin-esque, I think, with his writing. So, Email us at flickfest@goldderby.com. This one is from our old friend David L. Joyce.
Oh, snack.
Hi, Joyce and Chris. It's your favorite emailer with all the hot takes, David L. This year's Emmy season is looking to be very fun because thankfully there's no real frontrunner in drama series. David L. His ears must have been ringing as I was talking previously. Last year was a total slog because the TV Academy appeared to be very confused and lazy and bestowing all of their awards to Shogun almost in the same vein of The Last Emperor when you guys did the fun Oscars playbacks. My question is, do you guys think the second season of Wolf Hall can return into the Emmys, or is it impossible for them to get nominated since the last season was 10 years ago and they have to submit in drama this time and not limited series because of the same cast? I really loved the first season. It was my introduction to Mark Rylance before seeing Bridge of Spies, for which he won his well-deserved Oscar, and for what he and Damian Lewis having been killing it on the season as well. Also, side question, what did you think of the cool trailer for Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another? I know you were both always eager for Leo to return to comedy, as am I, and he made me laugh because he looked like Jack Nicholson in an old 70s thriller comedy. Have a great weekend. Hope the mailbag episodes will be more than once a month. It's from David L.
He should just send an email every week. So then,
what do you think of Bridge of Spies? What do you think of Wolf Hall?
I love Bridge of Spies.
I love Bridge of Spies too. But...
Yeah, like it's got great reviews. But I feel like because it has to go drama, like it's gonna get lost.
I think they're gonna try to make it not get lost. I'm worried that it will get lost.
But yes,
I do think
the reality might, as is the case with a lot of campaigns, most campaigns, the eventual reality will probably be different.
That said,
the hope. But
in terms of the acting, like you could argue there's room in drama actor, because right now the top of it's Adam Scott in first, Pedro Pascal, Gary Oldman, Noah Wyle, Sterling K. Brown, and Eddie Redmayne in sixth, and then Lee Jung-jae and John Hamm. And then after that, it's like Harrison Ford and Jeff Bridges for the old man. And I'm like, and then like, you could make a case that Mark Rylance could sneak in there. I don't know. Like, I'm not confident in Eddie Redmayne getting nominated. No disrespect to the boy Eddie Redmayne, who's the GOAT. I'm also not super confident Lee Jung-jae getting in. I have John Hamm in, but I'm also not super confident John Hamm getting in because what if Your Friends and Neighbors is an Apple show that doesn't have as much visibility as some of the other Apple shows, right? Like, and even though it's really good and Hamm is an Emmy fave, maybe he doesn't get in. I think he will, but like you can make the case that like there's room there for a surprise acting nominee.
Yeah, but it's also, are they watching it? And I don't know.
But maybe British people are watching it.
Sure, but I do feel like it would have an easier time in limited.
It would definitely have an easier time in
limited.
We talked about this. There's nothing
much
there.
More open. Yeah.
Yes. And then One Battle After Another. Joyce, I'm at CinemaCon right now as we're recording this. That's why I'm in a different background.
That's why you have that gorgeous painting behind you.
This is where the movies happen, Joyce, where distributors and theater owners spend a whole week talking at each other and barely mention what the audience wants. That's not necessarily true, but that's sometimes the vibe I feel like, where it's like the two sides are just talking at each other the whole time and then showing off their wares. And so I saw One Battle After Another. They ran 5 minutes of it, Joyce.
Yes.
And it was picking up right after the trailer ends with, like, in the trailer, Leo's on the phone with like a revolutionary and he's not able to figure out the code and he can't get his daughter's location, basically, right? And that's like the gag in the trailer. And then in the clip, it's like a 5-minute scene of Leo on the phone with the same guy. And it is full fucking Rick Dalton, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood shit. I was delighted. so
the trailer was incredibly Rick Dalton coded. So I was like, this is great.
It was thrilling. I was like, this is my favorite kind of Leo. Leo in Wolf of Wall Street, Leo in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And so, yeah, I'm very excited for One Battle After Another. And I'll be curious to see how it does with real audiences and then with awards voters as well. But definitely my fave Leo mode is that Leo. This one's from Evan. Hi, Joyce and Chris. It's Evan here. I have to say I'm so excited for the Emmys. I currently have Walton Goggins at first for the White Lotus and supporting actor. It feels like this has been preordained for him since being nominated for Fallout. I remember the videos last year where you guys joked and said he won't win for Fallout this year, but he'll win for the White Lotus next year. And wow, here we are. So my question is, do you think he can do it and pull off a win? And what do you think Parker Posey's chances are in supporting actress? Is she the Jennifer Coolidge of the season? You guys are the best. Thanks. It's Evan.
Wow. I don't even know who I have in first. I honestly, I don't know who's winning those supporting categories, so I don't know who I put in first here.
I have Walton first for supporting actor. I think he's definitely in the top 3. I think he's like very win competitive. I thought his character is like one of the best of the show. I think he's created a lot of empathy for the character, which is not something you necessarily think about with White Lotus, because a lot of people watch the show to like hate on the people that are on the show. And he's just really good. I could, during Severance, I feel like people were really hot on John Turturro, and I think that, that could still be a thing, right? Especially if they really like Severance. My biggest issue for Walton is, what if Sam Rockwell was... I have Sam Rockwell in second. That is like the TV moment, arguably of the whole year, is his monologue, and then he's in other episodes, and he's really good. In the 7th episode, I thought he was like really good. I don't know. Or was that the 6th episode? Which was the one where Walton confronts Jim?
That's the 7th episode. Yes.
He's great. Rockwell is so good in that episode. Legit hilarious. So fun. So I could see Sam Rockwell literally winning an Emmy for the show, and that would be kind of sad, because I know Walton and Goggins are really good friends, but I do think Walton will probably pull it out. I don't know.
Apparently I have Walton first too.
Nice.
So
Congratulations, Joyce.
But I don't... yeah, I mean, I can see it, I guess. Yeah, this is also pending the finale as well. But I mean, I think like he'll get in. Sam, I don't think he would actually win. I think he'll get in, but I don't know. I think like if they, like, we know like the shows that they really love, they pay attention to.
Yes.
And even though that was a big moment, I think you're still with the other characters more, before like Sam's introduction.
Right.
So like they have more of like an arc, whereas like Sam is just like, oh, I just show up here and I'm like Walton's friend in real life and on the show.
Right.
And like, as like water coolery as that moment was, like I think what really sold the scene was Walton's expressions, not necessarily Sam's delivery.
Interesting.
Of
Walton's
the content.
expressions are good.
Like the content is obviously insane, but I think what really made the scene was Walton's face.
So then maybe that scene also helps Walton win. And then for the supporting actress, I don't think I've not been the biggest Parker stan for this season. I think she's like really good. I have Carrie Coon in first, though. I think she could easily win. Again, depending on what happens in the finale. Caitlin Deaver I have in second. I think those are like the two. To me, those are the two who are furthest out in front. Carrie Coon and Caitlin Deaver, and then not Parker Posey. But I guess we'll see.
I have Caitlin in first. How many White Lotuses do you have in like all together?
So right now I have Carrie Coon, Parker Posey, Amy Lou Wood, Leslie Bibb, and Natasha Rothwell. So that's 5. And then Walton Goggins, Sam Rockwell, Patrick Schwarzenegger, and Jason Isaacs. So that's a 9.
I have the same.
I'm not convinced of...
the same people, too.
I'm not convinced of Jason Isaacs, and I'm also not convinced of Natasha Rothwell. And I think they're also dependent... This is stupid to talk about because we don't know what happened in the finale, and this is running after the finale, so you might be watching this like, what am I doing? That said, depending on what happens in the finale, through this point in the season, I think those are the two most vulnerable people, is Natasha and Jason Isaacs. So does that mean another Severance person get like Zach Cherry? If this was 8, I would have Zach Cherry in for sure for Severance. Because
I feel like the category will go back to 8 with more submissions this year.
That'll make it a lot easier for me, because then I would have Zach Cherry in, and then I guess I would have for supporting actress, I would probably have
Patty.
I would put Patricia Arquette back in, for sure.
No Michelle Monaghan.
No, I don't believe. Unfortunately, no. I'm still weighing on Leslie Bibb. I feel like she's being underpredicted, and the same with Amy Lou Wood, who is like the star of the show to me too. But Carrie Coon is like legitimately fantastic on it, and I just feel like she's gonna break through.
Carrie and Walton, both lead nominees last year, now winning and supporting for the same show.
That feels right. I do think that feels right to me. Let's see. We got a few more here. 2 more. This one's from Zoe. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I've been enjoying the studio on Apple TV+, but I worry that's a little too inside baseball at times. What is your take? And do you think this will hurt its chances of being successful? That's from Zoe.
We've talked about this before.
Yes.
I think it'll probably affect its mass audience appeal more than for awards purposes, which is targeting the industry. The industry is voting for these awards. You know, now that the show is out, like all the people who love the show, like as I expected, it's like film Twitter, right? Like everyone who like loves movies and cinema or are involved in the industry, right? Like it's made for people like us and cinephiles.
This is why I think it's going to win. I actually think it could win comedy series. I really do. I still have Hacks in first, but I think I put the studio in second. I really think it could win because I think the industry loves it. At CinemaCon here, I've heard it mentioned multiple times, and no surprise, obviously, like you said, because it's like film coded, and I just think it's broken through in a way that with the industry that it really was. I'm like, I've seen people say that, and like one of the negative reviews have been like a lot of that, like, oh, it's just too inside baseball, right? Like who cares? And I'm like, that actually, like, I like that, and I like that they're making this very specific show because like this is a runner on Hacks this season, Joyce, that we talked about at least offline. When you're the push and pull between making something that's good versus making something that's broad, right?
Yeah. Oh, we could talk about Hacks actually because the embargo's up. So
in terms of like, you know, the big put, I haven't seen the whole thing you have because I'm just behind on the screeners because I've been sitting in CinemaCon ballroom or Coliseum fucking theater for a week. But the push and pull that I've seen from the season is Deborah trying to make the most broad late night show possible. And some of her points are actually fair because it's not the Deborah show, it's the late night show, right? Like that kind of, that institution is different from her. And Ava being like, we should make the best show and fuck, you know, who cares about, like, make the show that's good for us and not necessarily the broad public, right? Would you say that at least in the early stages of the season is like an accurate representation of what's happening?
Oh, yeah. Both shows are about art versus commerce. And like with Hacks, it's with the talk show because now like the season 4 is basically an office comedy now because now like the two of them, like Ava and Deborah, they have a boss to answer to. They have a corporation to answer to. It's the network. HR is involved. Michaela Watkins is their HR rep.
It's really, really good. The one I've seen is like really fun and hilarious. Like I legitimately laughed out loud multiple times in the screeners that I watched, and I'm very excited for it to come back and for us to talk about it more. But like for Hacks,
it's like Deborah, like obviously she wants the show to be successful, so she's willing to make concessions to make that happen. Whereas like Ava, as we've known, as is her personality, her want is like, I want to make like my highbrow stuff, you know, the stuff that I can be proud of.
Right.
You know?
And so that to me, like, I'm always on the Ava side, even though I understand the Deborah side, because I'm just like, who cares? Like, it's your, like, so I'm fine with the studio being incredibly insular and, you know, like totally made for this and not made for like normies in a way. But I do think like normies could watch it and have a really fun time.
Yeah, they
you
just
know what I mean?
They just won't get certain like super inside jokes.
Yes,
you know, some references.
I do think it's not good, and I think it's like truthfully engineered to make a big stink at the Emmys based on this show and like the response. I do think it'll do like really.
I mean,
well.
We're talking about the Emmys, but this is not a spoiler. Like, there's a Golden Globes episode later in the season. How will it do at the Globes?
I think you could win at the Globes too. Don't you think that? I mean, here's the last email, Joyce. This is from Michelle. You mentioned a game before. We don't really have a game, but he did send in a heart and soul game. Do you remember Michelle did this?
I love heart and soul games.
So hi, Joyce and Chris. Finally back with the mailbag episodes. I hope it's not over. So we are so back. Do you want a heart and soul game Emmy season version? White Lotus season 3. We're just gonna speed round these.
Amy Lou Wood.
Amy Lou Wood is correct. I agree. Awesome. Yellow Jacket season 3.
I can't say I've been watching season 3.
Same behind. So
I'm sorry.
Skip. We're past. Only Murders in the Building season 4.
Oh God. Steve, I guess. Because the season 4 is really about because it's like him and Zaz, you know.
Yeah. What if it's Zaz though? Zaz is really touching. That's why I had Jane Lynch in there for a hot second.
Well, I guess we're both on the right track.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know because I'm like she's. I guess I don't think about the dead person as like. Because it's like you're gonna have sympathy for them, you know?
True.
Because they're dead.
Yeah. Shrinking season 2.
I mean, that's your fave. I like my immediate thought was Harrison.
I think it's probably Harrison, but I think you can make a case for Brett Goldstein too, which is weird because he's like but it's like the theme of the season is basically like forgiveness, and like his character is so key to that, both for forgiving himself and like them forgiving him. I don't know, but we could say Harrison because he made people cry. The Studio, not a heart and soul show, but I have one for this.
I don't know. Like of the main cast, I guess I would say Quinn.
Yeah, I was going to say Chase Wonders too.
Because I was thinking, I was like, can I say any of the guest stars? Like, I don't know.
Quinn is great, and Quinn and Ava would definitely get along if they ever do a crossover of Hacks and The Studio. I feel like they're in the same kind of thing. Hacks season 4, Joyce. You've seen more of it than me.
I've seen the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll say Jimmy.
Wow, nice. Jimmy is pretty great. I love Paul.
Jimmy. Yeah.
Nobody Wants This.
Timothy Simons.
I was thinking him too. That's good.
Yeah.
Severance season 2.
I actually love Merritt Weaver.
I think Merritt's a really good one.
Yeah.
What about Trammell Tillman? I don't
think he's like heart and soul though. He's not heart and soul.
But he's like good. It's like really good though.
Yeah. Again, I think he's probably my favorite performance of season 2, but like heart and soul, I would say.
No. I mean he does he is kind of, I don't know. I can make the case he's like kind of the soul.
People will probably say Deachin.
Yeah, that's a good one too, actually. Yeah. Deachin's a good one too.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about Dying for Sex, Joyce?
Rob Delaney.
Nice.
I guess. Okay. Yeah. I also really like Helmut Yu on it.
Yeah. The Last of Us we haven't seen yet, so beyond the first episode, I will say I think it's going to be Dina as the heart and soul of the Isabel Merced. How do you say her name? Merced. She's great. And then this is the last part. What are the odds on the 4 seasons for Emmys? I have Natasha Lyonne out for Tina Fey and Steve Martin out for Steve Carell. The only right thing to do with the Steves. And Tyler James Williams out for Coma Domingo because things are not going really great for Gregory.
I've since watched the 4 seasons, like you have.
Oh yeah, it's good, right? It was good.
Yeah, it's cute.
You didn't like it as much.
No, I mean, I think you definitely like it more, but like I enjoyed it.
It's definitely like Tina's description on the Amy Poehler podcast was definitely accurate. Where it's it's more of there were some parts where I was legit laughing, but it's not like not a lot of jokes.
Yeah, that's the thing. She's like setting expectations. It's not jokes per minute. So what did you think of it, having watched it? Like
since we last did our comedy picks, let me look here. I think I made some changes.
What did you do?
Well, let me see. Well, I have Tina in still. I don't have any actor in, and I don't have any of the supporting actors in, and I still have the show in comedy series, but it's right at the bottom, and I'm wondering if it will stay in.
I guess like my concern is also the release date because it is coming so late. We talked about this. Yeah, and I mean Netflix has a lot of like comedies too. Their FIC site is finally live.
I felt like I think Tina could get in because of her obviously past success as an Emmy.
Right, but she hasn't really had a lot of success in the last decade.
But she's also really, really good she's like, I mean, to me, she's like the best of the group. I think she's the best.
Yeah. I really like her. I like Coleman a lot too.
Coleman's great. I mean, he can get in too. Right now, I put, you were not going to be surprised by this at all. I have Ike Barinholtz in for The Studio. And my supporting actor.
Yeah, I mean, he has a great tape with the Golden Globes episode.
And with War, which is the 5th episode.
I know, but like
hilarious.
Because
he has multiple tapes.
I think of War more as like Chase because like Sal does have Golden Globes, you know.
But he's got 2 significant standout episodes, I feel like. Plus, he's hilarious in the other episodes. Like, he's really funny in 1 and 2. And so I think he could get in. I didn't drop Tyler James Williams, and I actually added back Janelle James, which I know people were mad at me for dropping.
Well, she has a big arc right now.
I know. That's why I added her back in. They were like, Chris hadn't seen the Abbott episodes, and I was like, I hadn't, but now I haven't. I'm like, yeah, no, she can get in. I dropped Jessica Williams for Shrinking, and I have Megan for Hacks, because she has a line, I think, in the first episode that I was truly crying laughing at. Like, I thought it was it's like, this is the funniest thing I've heard on TV in a year or so.
Was it in reference to another show?
No, it was in reference to some slur that Deborah lobs at Ava.
Okay.
And then
yeah.
The timing of her response was so hilarious. Like, the comic timing was truly one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It completely caught me off guard, and I was laughing about it for like 5 minutes. I had to pause the show.
She also has a an arc coming up later in the season. And as a PWD told me, that she hits a crossroad in episode 9. Wow. So
we're going to wrap up here. Email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. We'll be back next week, Joyce, with our drama update predictions, which we kind of just did here, but I'm excited to go deeper into the categories.
Will I not put Pitt in number 1? I won't, because I'm not like that.
But what if you do? We'll find out.
You would.
Maybe I will, just for the joke. All right, I'll talk to you then. Bye. Thanks for listening to Awards Magnet, a Gold Derby podcast. Like what you heard? Leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Awards Magnet is produced by Andrew Merrill. Our logo is designed by Chelsea Sikora. Please like and subscribe to stay on top of all the awards news and email us at slugfests@goldderby.com.